The 1930s were an especially difficult time in the United States. The economic disasters of the Great Depression left many Americans with little more than hope. 25% of the population was unemployed. Another 22 million were homeless. The upcoming 1932 presidential election offered change and renewed hope. The newly elected president, former New York Governor Franklin Roosevelt, immediately introduced New Deal programs designed to reform and improve citizens' confidence in the economy. The Civilian Conservation Corps, known as the CCC, was one such relief program that provided work and hope's answer to young men of unemployed families. The Civilian Conservation Corps employed mainly young men in conservation projects in city, state, and national parks and forests, military installations, and Native American reservations. Cleverly called Roosevelt's Tree Army, the young men had to be between the ages of 18 and 25, unmarried, and have fathers receiving relief benefits. The federal government provided food, clothing, shelter, and any tools they would need. Over 4,000 CCC camps were set up in the 48 states, Hawaii, Alaska, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. The men worked 40 hours a week and were paid $30 a month, 25 of which they had to send home, keeping $5 for themselves, a substantial sum at the time. Enrollment lasted initially for 6 months, but was later extended to 2 years.
I helped send a brother and sister through high school. You could make extra money on the side if you were sharp. We had punch boards, and they never said anything to us. They paid us extra to train cooks. I guess I made more than most. About $45 a month was as high in salary as you could go. It didn't matter how smart you were.
From 1938 to early 1942, CCC Camp NP4 Company 431, known as Camp T.M. Brumby, was located at Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, housing approximately 200 men. The camp consisted of several buildings, and the entrance was off of present-day Kennesaw Avenue. There were 4 barrack buildings, with each designed to house approximately 50 men. All buildings were temporary and could be dismantled and moved to another location to be quickly rebuilt. Camp Brumby's buildings were brought here from a disbanded CCC camp in Rutledge, Georgia. Not much of the original camp still exists, only the foundations of the headquarters, bathhouse, and a portion of the mess hall foundation. A portion of the entrance to the education building is still visible as well. All CCC camps included barracks, a mess hall, bathhouse, education hall, infirmary, and outbuildings such as tool sheds. Much of the work of the CCC campers here at Kennesaw Mountain is still visible today. The men built the bronze and brick entrance signs that still identify the battlefield. Grass fields and trees were planted by the CCC enrollees, and they constructed almost the entire trail system that is still heavily used today. They built the drive to the Cheatham Hill section of the battlefield and widened Old US 41, which was the main route north at the time. When needed, they also fought local fires.
I attended my first college classes while in the CCC at Clemson. While I was in Marietta, I enrolled in a defense course at Georgia Tech. We were bused in at night to Georgia Tech and took a course in welding.
In August 1939, some of the men were trained to work as tour guides for the battlefield. The men chosen were those who were relatively better educated than most enrollees, and they were instructed in local and Civil War history.
The park guide was the elite job. If I hadn't had the park guide job, I would have left and found a job in the private industry because jobs were beginning to pick up. While I was in the CCC, I earned my money. You didn't find many goof-offs. When I went in the Army, I found it was rather easy.
These tour guides were in a sense the site's earliest rangers, and it was their work that began to make the site available to the public while educating them on the events that happened here. These lucky men delighted in giving the tours. They wore ties and, until a visitor came in, worked in what was then the visitor center, an old farmhouse. They offered tours of the museum and sometimes rode with visitors to Cheatham Hill to give a tour there. Occasionally, the visitors would allow the CCC guides to drive their cars. The men were lucky to have enough visitors to give 2 or more tours a day, a huge contrast to the millions of yearly visitors the battlefield receives today. However, just like rangers today, they too regarded the earthworks at Cheatham Hill as sacred areas and warned visitors to stay off of them.
We played tricks on the rookies. We sent one out to milk a cow, but we had no cows. And when he couldn't find it, he got lost, and it was AWOL for roll call.
The Civilian Conservation Corps program effectively ended when America entered the Second World War. Its legacy, however, continues in many youth programs of today, such as the Youth Conservation Corps, the Student Conservation Association, and Job Corps. While none of these programs profoundly affects such a large portion of the population as did the CCC, they each embody the Civilian Conservation Corps' spirit of providing